Oi, you're tuned in to Jai That Aussie Metal Guy, so make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of his sick content. And remember, stay brutal, you legend.
G'day, you bloody legends. It's Jai That Aussie Metal Guy here with crank.com and with that metalstation.com. So tonight, wherever you are in the world, it's a great pleasure that I'm getting to have a chat with Taylor Waring of Merlock out of Spokane and Washington. The doom metal band are due to release Onward Strides Colossus on the 24th of February, I believe. Taylor, cheers for joining me, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Well, me.
No, absolute pleasure, man. For the uninitiated, can you just give us a little bit of a brief rundown who Merlock are and kind of describe your sound for the listeners?
Merlock is a psychedelic doom band. Like you said, we're from Spokane, Washington. Spokane is kind of a mid-sized city in eastern Washington, so nowhere quite near the size of Seattle, but still like a formidably sized city. Actually, everyone in Merlock has moved here from somewhere else. I'm originally from Wisconsin. I moved here to get my MFA in poetry. Our drummer Luke is from Montana originally. He came here, he moved here with his wife when she got a job at the local news station, and Andrew and his partner moved here like 8 years ago. I don't really know why they moved here. I never asked him why he moved here. He was just here when I got here. So we're all kind of like transplants to Spokane. When I moved here, I had been playing in a stoner doom band back in Wisconsin for several years. And like I knew that part of my life wasn't really over. So when I came here within like 6 months of being here, I think I had Merlock up and running.
Nice.
Moved out here in a van with all my gear and just whatever fit in the van. And so we started off, and like I really wanted, after Baba Yaga, the other band, I wanted to do like a more traditional metal band. So like I really wanted to do like a kind of heavier Thin Lizzy. I wanted to do more like something Judas Priest. But that wasn't in the cards because everyone I met ended up being into kind of more of the doomy side of things and like loud amps. I'm into loud amps, so we originally had another guitar player. She brought in kind of like a death black metal influence that you can hear on That Which Speaks. Parts of it pop up still on our new record, but that's like more from like my black metal taste.
Well, sorry to jump in there, Taylor,
Yeah,
but that was
please
one
do.
of the things I had marked in there, like, because I was listening to it after a few listens and I jumped into some of your other stuff and I'm like, yeah, this is doom, but like it's got elements of, as you just said, that depressive black metal style as well, which I picked, and I'm like, damn, hell yeah, dude. But also so many different elements, as you mentioned, Judas Priest there. Were you thinking like, okay, and if I just go, look, doom metal band, I can throw fucking everything at the wall with this, then it's not really going to matter, because that's kind of what doom does at different points. You can have those different elements fucking mix in and transition
Yeah.
the music.
I really like to treat it as like a palette, a slate. It's not really that's not really how I work. Like I could not just be a like straight doom band. Like that's not really where a lot of like that doom worship I think is, kind of boring and derivative. I'll be like, fuck, everyone loves Black Sabbath. I rip off Black Sabbath all the time. I don't want that to be my whole band, Like Black Sabbath was great because they had versatility.
Yep.
We had, different softer takes, It wasn't just, fucking, obviously it was a lot of riffs, but it wasn't just like an Electric Wizard. I love Electric Wizard, but it's like all one thing. It's like eating French food. It's like, this is really great and it's really rich, but there's no complexity here. So
as a musician, you got to kind of want to push yourself a little bit as well. You're saying like you just don't want to go, look, okay, I'm just going to play this. Like, look, take AC/DC for example. As I'm Aussie, I can say this. We all fucking love AC/DC. You buy the first 3-4 albums, you're set. You don't need to buy the other fucking 10-20 because it's all the bloody same thing.
Yeah. And I mean, like a lot of that comes from like Mastodon, right? Like Mastodon, there is such a wealth of influence in them. They started off like very sludgy, but they were able to meld Rush into that somehow. They were able to meld, well, obviously the Melvins is pretty sludgy, but they melded all these influences into something unique. And that's what I think good art does. I can't remember what poet said it off the top of my head, but it's like something to the extent of like every artist chooses their predecessors. And you can like choose predecessors that are all the same thing and create something that is, I guess safe and works. And even this record, like this is the most Merlock sounding record. I think it's the most cohesive, but I don't think we're 100% like figured out exactly what the sound is. I think on our next record, we don't have any of it written yet, but like I want to keep pushing and melding these wealth of influences into something cohesive. Our first, like That Which Speaks, was like very like um jarring, right, and angular, and it's like the transitions between these influences didn't always like work as well. It was just breakneck, where I think there's more of a fluidity in Onward Strides Colossus.
Yeah, so when did you start making this? Because you've almost looking through here, you've almost done a release every year. At least something has come out, from that self-titled EP through to the demo. And as you mentioned, That Which Speaks, that come out July 2020, and then You Cannot Be Saved, which is a ripper release as well, come out in November 2021. Now you're dropping this one in 2023. How do you?
It's
man.
a kind of an interesting story. So we actually, You Cannot Be Saved wasn't like intended to be a record. We went to, that was like right in the pandemic.
Yeah.
We were in the middle of writing what would become Onward Strides Colossus. I'd say we were about halfway done with it. And That Which Speaks was recorded like all to a click track.
Okay.
And it worked for some of the band members. It didn't work for some of the other band members. So we decided to try recording live. So I wanted to have that experience before we went and did that in a studio. So we went out to Kalispell, and I don't know if you know the band Wizard. There's some homies of ours. They had a little studio. We went to record, like that was when everyone was doing like live streams.
Yeah.
So we intended to go do a live stream, and then like we ended up accidentally recording a record while we were there, like over the course of 2 days. So that got pushed ahead in the release schedule, and it gave us a little bit of a cushion to write Onward Strides Colossus. I want to say it was written predominantly Where No One Goes was done before that.
Yep.
Because that's also on You Cannot Be Saved. And then I think we had Sunbaron written, and then the rest was written. So that was Halloween. So we probably wrote that over the course of 2020.
Yep.
We went to go and we recorded it in early 2021.
Yeah, nice. And the title track, tell us about the title track, Onward Strides Colossus, because you've already released that. Everyone's been able to have a little bit about that. Tell us about some of the themes, the influences. Tell us all about this track, man.
So that was that was the last track we wrote, and we had originally had another track slated in there, and it's a song we still play, but like it's never made its way onto a record. We've had this song, honestly, I'm pretty sure we had it when we recorded our first demo. And it didn't quite fit on That Which Speaks. It didn't quite fit on You Cannot Be Saved, and now it hasn't made its way onto Onward Strides Colossus. But it's kind of thematically similar. I actually kind of harvested, that Somniloquy song, that like down tempo, kind of ambient, arpeggiated song. I stole the lyrics from that other song that was supposed to be the closer to the album. So like there was supposed to be continuity there, and then we decided to write a totally different ending track. And a lot of that was Andrew, our bass player. He really pushed us. I was kind of safe. I was going to take the safe route, and like stick to that song. We knew it, and it wasn't like it would have worked. But we decided to push forward and write a new one. And like in the last 2 months or so before that, we recorded that album we wrote, Onward Strides Colossus. And So it starts off with this like cool. Are you still there? You're kind of glitched out.
I'm still here. I
Okay,
am.
cool. Your
I'm
face
looking
is all
good.
pixelated.
It is, isn't it?
You look like the cover of "You Cannot Be Saved" right now.
I know, it's a good one.
So it starts off with this like cool, like tense Black Sabbath style riff. Um, and then it breaks out into this like Sleep Dragonaut style riff. And then there's this kind of like long winding Mastodon style riff. And then it closes out with kind of a return to that Black Sabbath style riff, with kind of a psychedelic solo over it. Um, and like it has this really nice arc, and it starts off, and like the first and the last riff are very similar, but they're in different keys, they're in different time signatures. So it kind of has this like sense of a journey, and that's really something I'm always trying to create, both like with a record and a song, is do we end up somewhere different? And that's a lot of what drives me crazy about a lot of doom stuff, is like
It
we
does.
haven't gone anywhere.
I know, and I do like it when you get to put in a good doom metal album and you feel like you've gone on a journey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's for me, I just love putting on these things here. Like I was saying to
Yeah.
you before we jumped on, I was listening at like 5 a.m. in this morning with my coffee and going through the album again. And it has that feel of a really great journey through the album. And you get to that last one and it's like Onward Strides Colossus. It's like a 10-minute epic, man,
Yeah.
which is really cool,
Yeah.
which is a great way to just kind of end the album. And at different points, I've mentioned this plenty of times through prog and especially doom as well, I find myself kind of lost in my thoughts at times
Yeah.
listening to these albums. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're going on a journey, and as you mentioned, a journey, you don't want to just put on an album and go, okay, then, and it's forgettable. When you put it on, you want to feel like you've gone on a journey with the artist, and it's, that's what you
Yeah.
kind of feel with this one.
Yeah, that's what like I love. I mean, in any kind of art I make, I have a background in poetry. It's like also it's a lot of that idea is influenced by a poet, Octavio Paz,
Yep.
and a lot of his work, was really about bringing about a change of state, this leaving and returning, and hopefully returning differently than
Yep.
you left. I'm always really inspired by that kind of idea, and even like Dope Smoker, like that's a little. I mean, one of my favorite albums of all time. It's a little bit of a trudge, like it is like journeying through a desert. It is brutal in a lot of ways, and you do kind of have a sense of accomplishment every time you actually like listen to it. And then my favorite Thanksgiving playlist is just listening to Dope Smoker 7 times in a row every year, and that's how I celebrate Thanksgiving.
Definitely the perfect way. So how does that background in poetry translate to your songwriting and process?
I write entirely too many lyrics to ever remember drunkenly on stage.
So you constantly
But
got like
also,
a notepad or something.
oh no, I just make a lot of shit up. Okay. I mean, I have a roadmap for every song. I know the melodies. I know roughly what I'm supposed to be saying. There's a huge poetic influence on this lyrically. I drew a lot lyrically from like the epic poetry tradition in this record. So there's like a lot of John Milton, there's a lot of the Odyssey. On Somniloquy, that part in the beginning where you can't quite, that kind of like mumbling, that's a passage from the Odyssey that I just happened to have, and I didn't know what to put there, and I just like read it over there when I was in the studio and just like read it over that day. Um, and then like in Where No One Goes, I quote Paradise Lost. I have a
Paradise Lost.
secondhand quote
I
from
think they used didn't they do a track a couple of years ago, a couple of tracks using his poetry as well was kind of influence too, I think.
The
That kind
Used. I don't
yeah,
know.
the
I
used.
must
Yeah, that's where the
really.
Paradise Lost, it kind of rings a bell to me. I was talking to Bert about it
Oh,
as well, and his love of poetry and how that, he influenced a lot with that body of work that they'd done around that time.
oh, I had no idea. I should look into that. I never really got too into the Used. I like a lot of bands kind of like around in that genre. I'm a big like AFI fan. I really love the Bled, a lot of that stuff, but I never got into the Used. I think when it was out, I thought it was like the emo girls liked it too much. You know?
I was too much of an introvert in my own little world there as well. So what was recording and production like? Tell us a little bit about your recording and production process.
Recording was pretty intense. So we stayed at there's a church that has been renovated into a studio, which was a really great place to record because there's like this sort of irreverent spiritualism throughout the record. And but like we lived there and we got yelled at for smoking weed in the church, and
What?
as we weren't supposed to, but it's like you have fucking put up three, like you knew it's stoner doom, man. What did
Yeah,
you
it's,
think
you
was
know.
so but like we lived there like as a unit. By day 3 or 4, the boys were wrestling because they were bored. I just left. Just like, you boys work yourselves out. It was like 8-hour shifts. It was kind of tough. And I don't know if I'd want to record a record that way again.
Yep.
As I get older, I'm into working smarter and not harder. And we worked really hard when we did that. It's like but also like, you know, we were living there and like there weren't like amenities. It was just like he's like, yeah, you can crash here, like if you want.
You can crash if you want,
For
but
the
don't smoke
hotel.
fucking weed. Fucking
It
you drink all the
was like
piss you
still,
want and be a drunken fucking moron, but don't smoke any weed and chill the fuck out and just eat some
yeah.
food, dude. You know?
And there's no shower. There wasn't like an oven there. It was just kind of, so we had to eat out like every meal, and
Oh wow.
the only thing to do was like the last day he's like, oh, there's a projector here and a Roku. It's like fucking cool. Like, so we didn't have like TV or anything, and or like anything to like listen to bounces back. So we're like listening on like Bluetooth speakers.
Oh wow.
Just,
Yeah, definitely won't
it
be
was
doing that one again. It was an experience.
yeah, I mean, like it was a great way to record this record. Um it's not something I want to do again,
Great way
but
to record it because then you go, I'm not doing that fucking shit again.
yeah,
I learned that. That's
yeah.
it. That's done.
Well, I mean, it was a good, the first one we did like all to a click track, like we went all the way back on this one. It's all live. I double tracked guitars, but also like in that state, like everything turned out good, but I know it could have been better had I had more.
Yeah, so the whole playing live would have been fun because I've talked to a couple of bands that do it and it has a fucking great sound to do it. But I think the other behind the scenes fucking bullshit that went with it would have been a total pain in the ass. So it's kind of good that it's done with and it's out. So maybe could do it again live, but not the way that it was done, I suppose.
Yeah, it's next time I want to just I think I want to go back to doing like a click, but like the first time we did it, we didn't quite do it. Like there's a lot of tempo changes and I didn't really account for that, and it was a rushed process. So next time, like we don't even have another record written right now, so I want to do a lot more pre-production. And like spending time and I want to find an engineer who can really help us craft an album. A lot of engineers are just like, yep, sounds good. It's like, I know it fucking doesn't sound good, bud. Like, I know that needs to be fixed. I know this needs to be fixed. Like,
need somebody who's more than just a paycheck. It's just he wants to have an input on it as well.
Yeah, who has ideas, but like that's also like really more what a producer does. But I also feel like an engineer should like
at least have some idea.
Yeah, that. So you know, there's like a couple things on the record where I was guided by the engineer, and like at the end of it, I'm a picky person.
Yeah.
Like, I will edit things until they're done, and that's something that's difficult with a live recording process.
Yep.
Where it's like that's not, and like you're making a product at the end of the day. Is like, I'm an artist, I love making art. We're making something for other people to consume. And today, like it's hard to compete with, you know, like everything needs to be polished. There's almost like no excuse for it not to be in, you know, most records that come out, you know.
Yeah, well, there's so much music that comes out. You kind of want to cut through a little bit of that bullshit as well, and
Yeah.
have the music go to the ears as well. And I know everyone likes to stream, and that seems to be the easiest thing. But it's also great when people jump over and you know what I mean, buy merch, buy albums, like
Yeah.
platforms like Bandcamp and stuff like that. You do get the sick merch, the albums.
Yeah.
I notice you do have CDs and stuff like that. Where's the best place people can get on and support you guys?
Bandcamp is the best place.
Yeah.
This Friday we're launching the pre-order for the record.
Yep.
So it'll be out on CD and cassette.
Get the fancy little album art on it as well. There we go.
Yes.
There we go. Nice doomy looking cover there as well. See, that's the thing when you buy the albums, you get the cover art. I fucking love cover art, man.
I mean, that's what I do all the album layouts.
Yep.
In part of my other life I design books, and so that's so like almost everything Merlock puts out, we've put a lot of time and effort into.
And for the lovers of cassette, I noticed there's some cassettes there, dude. Like, I know I've got a few mates that are just fucking loving cassettes at the moment, man. They're always putting up posts with their cassettes and that. It was great for me to see vinyl like really make a resurgence. Well, it's kind of always been here in the metal scene and that, but the cassettes the last couple of years, man, it's been cool. I've been the same. I've been grabbing them and just sticking them to the side, not even using them.
Physical media is so important, and as vinyl has gotten, like, there was the final vinyl boom, and like right now, like, I don't buy vinyl records anymore because like I have a really nice vinyl collection. I used to work at a record store.
Yeah, nice.
I go look at new ones and they're like $30 to $50, and I was like, 5 years ago, I mean, when I was at the record store, I got them like half off. So like I have like super rare records that I really don't have any business owning, but well, I do because
I work my ass off at that store. Fuck it.
But it's like I have like all the cool like color variants and whatever. But for a band like a DIY band, you really need label support to put vinyl out, and we haven't quite gotten there yet.
Or at least fan support, you know what I mean? Get along buying albums, chucking in pre-orders, because for bands like yourself, it fucking means the world, It's like great to get those streams, but when you have people go and buy the fucking merch, the albums, guys like yourselves are putting that money back into making the next album, or, i.e. do some vinyl. It's like, fuck, we had a good run on this. If you guys want the vinyl, fucking buy it all and we'll get some vinyl happening for you. But it's got to come from somewhere. It just can't be, there you go.
Yeah, and we do our, like, we have been, like, we are all, like, business-minded individuals. So, we are continually, like, reinvesting. And, like, I've definitely, like, I know a lot of bands who, like, get paid from a show and then, like, drink that night. And, that's not... The cool, like, there's a lot of shitty things about capitalism, but, like, we are able to use this to continually build forward. From the very first thing we ever released was like this cell phone recording I made that I just like screamed over. You can find that like on the deep recesses of YouTube. It's called Warriors on the Edge of Grime, Hawkwind reference. And then, like, we've just been able to continually save money, reinvest in the band from, our tours. Luckily, we've been able to tour fairly successfully the past few years, and bring money home. And it's all about having like a sort of business sense. And like, again, like, we're a band, but we're also, you've got to be business minded in order to... It's called the music industry for a reason. And like, you gotta... If no labels are putting up the dollars for you, especially, you gotta figure out how to, build products, how to sell products, how to set your prices. I had to like learn how to build spreadsheets. I never thought my stoner doom band would need spreadsheets, but like, they're useful and like can help you calculate how much.
And like you said, you got to grind your ass off, man. Like you mentioned, like playing live. You guys would be playing, these shows live. And like you said, I'm not sitting around drinking all my fucking money because that's got to go into the next show. But the grind is where it's at. Bands like yourself grinding away, fucking playing the live shows where you can, gradually getting up that groundswell of support and pushing forward, because having that local support is instrumental for bands getting forward.
Yes. And Spokane's been pretty cool. But like the Northwest and like the West Coast has been much cooler.
Yeah.
Spokane's kind of isolated geographically. We're about 6 to 8 hours away from any other city. And a lot of bands can just skip us. So it's not necessarily always, it is a really cool spot to swing through. And I see people go right past us all the time. Like on a Sunday when they could have totally stopped on their way to Seattle and broken up that drive, but they don't. And it's kind of, Spokane's kind of a weird place like that. Like I said, it's a mid-sized city, but it has this small town mentality at times. Really clear in and out groups. And I think part of it's just because of how much the city's grown over the past 20, 30 years. Like, there's people who went to high school here who are still hanging out with their high school friends. And, there's a bunch of new people here, and there's not that they don't talk or whatever. Like, we have friends, and like, it's not totally like in and out, but there do kind of seem to be 2 overlapping Spokanes made of like people who have lived here and people who are moving here or have recently moved here.
Definitely sounds like an interesting dichotomy. Tell us a little bit about your favorite track off the album today. And I know it's probably going to change tomorrow, and it is the way it is, but tell us about your favorite one off of the album and why.
Actually, the one that's coming out Friday is Behold the Sort of Lock. That's my favorite. That's the real black metal tinged one. Actually, I see you're wearing a Cradle of Filth shirt. That kind of fast middle part, the da-na-na-da-na-na-da-na-na-da, that's like built out of Heaven Torn Asunder.
Yep.
Like I couldn't play that riff as fast as they did, and so that's why it's like
I've frozen again, people. There we go. Having some funny issues with my camera. Look, this has been an absolute pleasure, Taylor, getting to have a chat about Merlock and the forthcoming album Onward Strides Colossus. Do you have any last words, shout outs, thank yous, or anything I may have forgotten you want to add in there, my friend?
So pre-orders out Friday. If you can follow us on Spotify, if you can follow us on Instagram, I'm really funny. I'm on TikTok. We love talking to you. Like, we really love talking to our fans and building connections. So please find us on social media and I will chat with you. We have a Facebook group that's pretty fucking funny. It's a lot of memes. It's a lot of shit posting. And, just give us a listen. And if you like what you hear, come and follow us. Other than that, thank you for having me today. It was a really pleasant conversation.
No, absolute pleasure, mate. Everybody go check out Merlock. The doom metal band can be found over on Bandcamp. You can grab the previous releases. You Cannot Be Saved, That Which Speaks. There's even Eidolon's Breath, the demo. There's self-titled EP on over there. So you can get a good listen to it before the album drops. As you mentioned, Behold the Sort of Lock comes out this Friday. Pre-orders are available this Friday. Merlock, get it in your ears. Crank it really bloody loud. The neighbors are going to want to hear it. Cheers, people.
Oi, you know what time it is? You're tuned in listening to Joy That Aussie Metal Guy. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of his content when it drops. And remember, stay brutal, you mad dogs. Roof!